People who watch security cameras for a living, what creepy things have you tried to forget? I used to do asset protection for a WAMD in a very heroin addicted area. The creepiest thing was seeing how fast someone would go from completely normal to absolutely out of it in the span of a year because of the drug. You could build a timeline of their demise through CCTV pictures and video. One man in particular really stood out to me. The first time I apprehended him, he was very polite and intelligent, just stealing to get his fix. A year later, and the fourth time I caught him, he was basically a shell of a man. He tried running from me, and I looked him right in the eyes and said, "I know you. Gary last name, please don't run." The look on his face of someone knowing him who he couldn't even remember will always stay with me. I investigated internal loss for Target, and one time, as I was walking a lady who stole thousands of dollars worth of stuff out in handcuffs with the police, she turned to me and said, "Thanks for being so nice to me." I will never forget that. When I worked as a security officer, it was my first week on the job. I watched my boss and another officer try to talk a guy off of the top of our parking structure. Didn't work. Watched him jump off and land next to an employee who was coming in for her shift. Guy hit the ground so hard it exploded the belt right off of his pants. I will never forget watching that. So many of these will give me nightmares, so I'll throw one in the mix that I never want to forget. A year back I was working at a hostel and we have security cameras throughout the building. Watching the footage from the camera in the kitchen. It is about 2 AM and a very drunk guest walks in, grabs some snacks and accidentally drops an empty bottle on the ground. He then proceeds to kick it up into the air, then kick it again in air, where it flies across the entire length of the room perfectly into the recycling bin. In his drunken state he threw up his hands, ran around in a circle clearly in shock at how amazing he is. Then after looking around he noticed there was no one there to see it. After that he looked visibly depressed and stumbled back out of the kitchen. Working in a rehearsal studio for bands, we had camera at the front desk that pointed down the hall with the entrances to all the rooms. One day I'm sitting there minding my own business and noticed there was a girl sitting in the hallway outside one of the studios. She had come in with the band that was practicing, and I just assumed she didn't feel like sitting in the loud space with the band. So I got up and went to tell her she was welcome to sit in the lobby where there was a couch and TV. I got around the corner and she wasn't there. I went back the desk and there she was, sitting in the hall waiting outside the room. So I went back out to find her not there again. I assumed she had gone into the room, so I went and knocked and they informed me that the girl had left a while before, just after they had gotten started practicing. So I went back and there she was, still on the camera. It was only then that I realized I had accidentally bumped the freeze frame button for the monitor. One time there was a spider on the lens. It was big. It stayed there for like 3 days. Was it big or just really close? Well, both. I went to look at the affected camera to try and brush the spider off with a broom, but when I saw how big it actually was I was like, nope. It was the kind that would like gallop down the length of a broomstick. If I tried to swat it, I had to put a post-it on the monitor to cover the camera's feed because I kept getting the heebie-jeebies every time I noticed it out of the corner of my eye. So you're saying that I can get security people to cover the screen by having a large scary spider sit on the camera? Me and our late C have some banks to rob. Mostly lots of sex. I've had to turn on the microphone and tell them to stop it or they'll be thrown out of the college gym. I'd have just started narrating in the voice of David Attenborough, and here we observe the mating habits of young Homo sapiens in their natural habitats. Sadly the young male is underendowed. Hey fuck you dude. The young male appears agitated. This could be a result of his underendowment. The female appears to be less in heat, possibly due to the male being extremely underendowed. Did I mention they have a small pages? Possibly as a result of being underendowed. The female appears to be faking her climax, which is definitely a result of the male being both underendowed and having no previous sexual relations. I'm watching every male's nightmare playing out in front of me right now, folks. This is Shakespearean in scale. Worked as a harbor master a while ago. Had to check the marina's cameras after a boat was abandoned at our docks. I was looking for the owner. I looked on the tape from the boat's first night in the marina. The man who had sailed the boat in was standing on the end of his boat for 2 hours, barely moving. Then at 1:30 am he just walked off the back and dropped into the water. He never came back up. Never found his body. Freaky. Saw a chicken walk up the side of a tree at 2 am. This one's too much even for Live Leak. Live Beak. Get the cluck out of here. Watch our other videos and subscribe cause you not a scrub.